Hi everyone, I just wanted to give you some instructions about how to complete the outline for your final paper, as well as how to start writing your final paper. So we're just going to go through this presentation. I'm going to show you a couple of examples as well to help you get started. All right, so here we go. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is to explain to you what you are going to actually do in this final paper, which is you're basically answering your central question using the quotes from your sources that you found during your annotated bibliographies. And you actually might have to also look up some additional sources. As you write, you might realize you haven't quite answered part of your question. You may have to find more sources, and we'll talk about that in a bit. You are going to synthesize ideas from these different sources along with your own words to make sure that you completely answer your question. And you're going to cite all of those sources in text using parenthetical citations. At the end, you also have to have a works cited page. Okay, so how is synthesizing different from summarizing? Well, in a summary, essentially you are taking the key words from a specific source and then you move to another source and you do the same thing. In a synthesis, you actually take ideas from both of those sources, combine them with your own ideas, and then you answer the question that you're trying to answer. So the difference between synthesis and summarizing is in summarizing, you go from source to source. In synthesizing, you actually combine the ideas from two or more sources. So in order to make sure that you can actually write this paper in an organized fashion, you're going to have to organize your ideas in an outline. And so you're going to find the 3 to 5 biggest findings from your research. These findings are the same as the reasons that you listed on your capstone research proposal and also the reasons that you listed on the bottom of your note cards. If you did the last paragraph of your annotations and your note cards correctly, filling out this outline is going to be a piece of cake. And once you have an outline, writing the actual paper will be so much easier. All right, so how to create the slideshow outline, and I'm actually going to show you a sample in just a second. The first thing you're going to do is provide your central question and your thesis statement. The thesis statement is actually the 1 or 2 sentence answer to your central question. You're going to have at least 3, 5 would be even better, supporting arguments, which are the findings or the reasons that are found within your sources. At least 2 counterclaims or opposing views to refute within your paper, and textual evidence from those sources as well as a works cited page. So I'm actually going to exit out of this presentation and I'm going to show you what this outline actually looks like. So this is the outline that you're actually going to complete. You're all going to get a template to fill out in Google Classroom. So you can see you're just going to replace this here, this central question here with your central question and put in your student name. Please don't change the format at all. It should follow this exact outline. Then what you're going to do is put your first finding here. Again, that's your reason from either your note card or from your capstone research proposal. And then, so you'll just write over, you'll delete this U to the period. And then in this space, you're going to write here 3 bullet points or 4 bullet points. And these are exact quotes that you took from your sources. And these sources are literally the ones that you have on your note cards. So you're just going to look at your note cards and the one that has reason 1, whatever you decided to do for your first reason, you gather all of your cards that have that reason and you put all of the evidence here on the PowerPoint in bullets. So you take either sections of the quote or pieces of the quote that you'd like to have in your paper and you're going to put them here. You'll repeat this with each of your different findings. Remember, you have to have at least 3. If you're going to be writing a 12 to 15 page paper, which is what you're doing, you want to make sure that you have plenty of reasons and plenty of data to back that up and plenty of evidence to back that up. So the other thing that you're going to need is you're going to need counterclaims. So counterclaims are where you'd put arguments against your thesis. It's not saying that you are saying that what you have said is wrong. It's that if you present a counterclaim, you can actually argue against it to show that your argument's even stronger. So, for example, I gave this one on genetically modified foods and how I think that they're beneficial. So the counterclaim is that genetically modified foods are not safe for consumption. And then I have actually citations that refute that. So I'm saying that that's actually not true, and that's what my sources say. And so you need at least 2 counterclaims on your outline, and those are in the next 2 slides as well. Okay, so let's go back here to the slideshow. Okay, so your final paper, remember that synthesis actually means to combine your ideas with the ideas of other people to support the points that you're trying to make. So I'm actually going to show you a sample synthesis paper using MLA formatting, as well as some explanations and instruction. I suggest that you use this example to help when you are actually trying to write your paper. So anything that's in blue, this is for MLA style. You don't have to worry too much about that because the draft paper that you're going to be writing in already is set up to do this. As long as you don't change any of the formatting, your paper will be all set. Okay, so here's another example of a synthesis paper. This is actually a paper that I wrote. What I wanted to show you was how the different quotes look inside of an actual paper. So in this paper, which I wrote about ecotourism, when I wrote about Belize. So as you notice, I color-coded each of the different sources. So here in green is one source, a second quote from that source. And then in orange is a second source. So that's Kruger, the Kruger source. Then if you look in my next paragraph, I actually have 3 different sources that are going to be found within those. Now notice I didn't actually use direct quotes in any of them. These are actually ideas that were my ideas combined with ideas that I had when I was reading the actual quote from this particular article. And, this isn't plagiarism. It was actually run through a plagiarism site. So, but this is what synthesis looks like when you're combining multiple sources, as you can see in a couple of different paragraphs. All right, so just a couple of things about formatting. So your paper should follow these particular guidelines. And these are, again, like I said, your paper's already formatted in the correct way in the draft. So as long as you don't change anything, you'll be okay. So the page numbers, again, begin with 1. Your name is going to appear in the top right corner. Your name, advisor's name, and final research paper are on the left-hand side, and those are also already written in there. The title is going to be centered. That's your central question. And it's going to be 12-point font double spaced. Okay. The paper also must contain parenthetical citations. And so that's when you put the last name of the author in the parentheses. This is also here instructions about how to actually do that here as well. At the back of the paper, you must have a correctly formatted, alphabetized works cited page. And here is a sample for you. If you actually click in here, it will bring you up to a document that shows you a works cited sample. As you will notice, the sources are actually alphabetized by last name. If a, in, or the is the first word, you just ignore those and go to the second word. So typically it's the last name of the author. If there is no author, you go to the title. So one thing I just want to show you is that this is called a hanging indent. And the way that you do that in Google Docs is you actually can go to Google Docs. This is just a Google Doc that I had started. You can actually highlight. What you do is you highlight the whole quote. This is not an actual source, but you quote if that's one of your sources, and you just do format, align and indent. You go down to indentation options. Okay, when you click that, you do special indent hanging and apply, and you'll see that it will provide a hanging indent right there. So you're going to do that with all of your sources when you actually do your paper. So that's what a hanging indent is. Please don't use the space bar. And tab sometimes makes it look really strange. So if you do that hanging indent, it will take care of it. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. So this is just an example of what a paper should look like. Okay. Again, here, if you need help with citations, these sites are very beneficial. You can use EasyBib, which is already embedded in Google Docs, which I showed you last week. Just remember, you have to clean those up. Sometimes the punctuation is off, or if there's an NP or ND, you might have to fill in some information on that as well. All right, so time to write. Your final paper is 12 to 15 pages in length. When you're writing, there should be at least 2 sources per paragraph, and those 2 sources should not repeat over and over again in the same section. If your entire paragraph or page is one source, you actually didn't synthesize, and we will remove points for that particular paragraph. You need to use all 10 sources in your paper, but you might have even more. Those should be on your works cited. You do not have to annotate any additional sources that you find. They just have to appear in your works cited. And I can guarantee you will have more than 10 sources if you do the paper correctly. So when you're editing your paper, there's actually an add-on that you can put into Google Docs called GradeProof, and I'm actually going to show you what it looks like. So how to get it is when you're in your document, you click add-ons from the top menu, and then get add-ons and type GradeProof in the search box, and then you will click it. And then I'm actually going to show you how to use it right now. So when you're in a Google Doc, you just go up to add-ons, and you can see here I have GradeProof and Start. And what it will actually do is it will review the spelling and the grammar in your particular paper. And then you can actually click View Suggestions. It will ask you, is this okay to use? You just say yes, yes, yes. It is school approved. You can totally use it. And it will actually give you, how many words you have, how many sentences. And then here on the View Suggestions, it will actually give you suggestions for spelling and grammar. Sometimes they're correct, sometimes they're not. But at least it will give you an idea of where you might have some issues. Okay. All right, so remember, your paper is going to be 12 to 15 pages with in-text citations. It's going to answer your central question. You have to use at least 10 sources. The works cited at the end of your paper is going to be alphabetized. You're going to use MLA 8th edition, and make sure you proofread and use that GradeProof program. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at melissa.northup@weymouthps.org. Thanks.